Well, welcome everybody. This is the beginning of our Windrush season. This is Black History Conversations, and I'm just going to put the PowerPoint up. I'm Liz Millman, and I'm back in the UK. This is really exciting for me, having spent 4 years nearly in Australia with the COVID issues and problems. So I'm really, really delighted to be here actually in Wales. So that's good. So I'm just going to put up the flyer for this time, and just real apologies. Melissa's poorly. She's not able to join us. So we will, however, be looking at the historical context of the Windrush scandal and the impact on the Windrush descendants' sense of belonging in the UK at some other stage. But we hope to welcome colleagues from Jamaica to hear about their plans. We haven't got anybody joined with us yet, because it is a very special anniversary, and we know that they've got a programme of activities which we're going to hear more about next week when they've actually got started and had their first events. So many thanks to the Windrush Allies Network. We've got colleagues here from that group, and also colleagues from Justice for Windrush Generations. So real big welcomes to those folks, to Gareth Freyog, to Roland, and we're hoping that June Elizabeth Whitesmith-Gully is going to join us any minute as well, so that's good. Now, normally we start a session, and for 100-odd sessions we did, paying respect to the elders, paying respect to the elders, past and present, and the lands on which they lived in Australia. Well, I'm not in Australia now, so it's not appropriate for me to do recognition of country here. But what we'd like to do, though, is just to let you know that I'm actually in Llandudno Library. So the staff here have been really lovely, because I've been sorting out my storage and then suddenly realised I haven't got time to get home to do this event. So they've let me have a room here, and they've given me a big pile of books about Black history. So that's going to be something that we can work on as we go along. Okay, so welcome to the 75th anniversary season of Black History Conversations. And first of all, I'm going to ask everybody to introduce themselves. So Simon, you're still with us, aren't you? I know you might have to nip off in a bit.
Another 2 minutes. So
quick introduction then, Simon.
Yeah, Simon Frigno. So I belong Nottingham on these conversations, where I've run the Jacob Wainwright project. Jacob was one of the companions of the explorer David Livingstone, but we're looking at him as a character to tell all kinds of stories about people, but we're also exploring issues around reparations, colonialism, impacts of slavery, and so on, which is really interesting. So that's me.
Well, thank you very much indeed, and thank you as ever, because Simon does the practical side of setting up these sessions and provides us with the recordings. And shortly we're going to be looking at developing the website, because we haven't developed it yet, the new one, but we'll work on that. And we're also talking about developing a Black History magazine. Maybe a good way of sharing some of the information that we've got. We'll see. Okay, right, in no particular order, I'm going to now ask Bunmi. Bunmi's Olison's over in Canada, Toronto. Bunmi, introduce yourself and tell us what your interests with Black history are.
Oh, well, my name is Bunmi Oyinsan. I'm based in Ontario, Canada, originally from Nigeria. And I write and produce Sankofa Pan-African series, which is a channel on YouTube where I talk about African history, Pan-African, global African history, and and things that have to do with development and anything to do with African, global African community. I also write and produce a children's website called sankofastorybooks.com, where we have a few illustrated children's stories, as well as we started a series on African history for children as well on the sankovastorybooks.com. I also run 2 schools in Lagos, Nigeria, for children from economically disadvantaged backgrounds.
That's absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. I was just trying to find your website to show everybody, but it's Sankova Pan-African series that you've got there, and then all the other things that you're doing as well. And Bunmi, you're also a very well-respected author, I know, and I think you've written 3 books now, is it?
Actually, one of the reasons why I haven't been answering your emails and all of that is because I got 2 grants to complete a novel I've been working on. So that's been taking a lot of my time.
That's absolutely fantastic. Well, thank you very much indeed, Bunmi. Anita, would you like to introduce yourself? It's great to see you again.
Thanks, Liz. Hi, I'm Juanita Cox. Bunmi, I was born in Jos, Nigeria, so just saying hello to hello
Oh,
to
wow.
you.
It's
But,
a small world.
It's a very small world. It's a very small world. My mom's actually of Ghanaian ancestry and my dad's English, but they lived in Nigeria for 40 odd years. So I'm just just throwing that out there. But I'm also a naturalized Guyanese. I've lived in Guyana for a long time, and I also am married to a Guyanese, and so I feel very much like a global African, as you're saying, describing there. But so I'm very similarly interested in the experiences of the Black diaspora. So I did all my kind of academic or postgraduate academic studies have been on the Black experience. Initially it was on, I actually used to teach British history at London Metropolitan University, but also the period of enslavement and post-emancipation in the Caribbean. My PhD was on literature, so on Guyanese literature, but I'm now working on a 3-year AHRC funded project called the Windrush Scandal in its transnational and Commonwealth context. I guess one of the main aspects of the project that I'm working on is that we're doing it from the perspective of the Black community, and so that we can preserve the memories of people as a historical resource for scholars and for secondary school teachers. But we've also been using the material in all sorts of really interesting ways. So, for example, recently we were contacted by Inoue Elams, who's also a Nigerian from Jos, but who himself had been subjected to kind of immigration issues surrounding immigration, and so came up with the idea of wanting to respond to some of the oral histories that we'd been conducted in poetry. So we had a poetry workshop, and the feedback we had was particularly to do with June Elizabeth. Actually, everybody was blown away by the information that June Elizabeth, who's here today, the information that June Elizabeth shared with me. It was clearly a really moving event. I think a lot of people were shocked at the extent of the scandal and the complexities that people are facing. I don't think people, for all the newspaper coverage, I don't think people realize the extent of the pain and distress and disruption to people's lives that there has been. So I'm really pleased that I can already see the value of having done doing this oral history project. And there's a lot of other people working on Windrush at the moment. So I hope collectively, for all the work we're all doing, particularly Winnow, I know everybody's preserving the recordings they're doing too. So I hope in the long term, we're going to have, a lot that's going to be of real value historically. Yeah, so that's the main focus. And I've got a conference coming up that you might all be interested in attending. Garrick and Roland are already down to attend. June Elizabeth unfortunately can't attend. Liz, I'd love to see you there. But it's a conference that's basically bringing together what we want to highlight is the long history of the scandal in the conference. So if you scroll down that page, you'll see the different topics.
Okay.
I don't know
What
if you
I've actually cut this and put it onto the PowerPoint.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, so we're looking at things.
The actual page.
Yeah. So we're looking at deportations and anti-deportation campaigns. We're sort of really interested as well in the way that activism has been such an important part of protecting the Black community, where the government has completely failed. So, you know, activists in the Black community are emerging as real heroes in terms of this story, because without them, I don't know how ordinary people will have survived. But in terms of confirmed speakers, we have Stella Dadzi, who did a lot of work as part of OAD, fighting against the immigration laws that were being brought in 1971 and later in 1981 with the Nationality Act. But we've also got Professor Gus John, of course, Amelia Gentleman, who everyone will be familiar with, is the investigative journalist from The Guardian, Martin Ford, and Anna Stein, I think most people will be familiar with from the Windrush Justice Clinic. But we're also inviting diplomats. So Arthur Snell was a previous diplomat from Trinidad, and he was one of the people that pointed out that some territories are seen as threat vectors. So the fact that Jamaica was seen as an area to be managed, as opposed, you know, so hence Jamaica, I think, to come to the UK now, you need visa, you know, you need a visa, whereas some of the other Caribbean territories are treated differently. So looking at all of that, and then we're ending the conference on having a conversation with Gus John, Martin Ford, myself, and Anna Steiner on the issue of reparations. And also the, you know, thinking about how the compensation scheme has failed. So in other words, particularly the fact that because the Home Office is responsible for the compensation, we need to make sure that in terms of reparation, it's not the people who need to be repairing the situation who are responsible for how the money or the whatever programs are designed around it, that they're not the ones who are deciding on that. So I guess that's something we're looking at. And then it closes in the evening with a celebration, really, because although we see the Windrush as more of a commemorative occasion, because there's so much that still needs to be done, we also want to acknowledge the fact that the community has contributed so much to British society. So we've invited John Agard, who's a poet and on the secondary school curriculum now, and also Tobago Crusoe. The other thing that I'm really hoping will happen, but it's not 100% confirmed yet, I hope that the Royal Mint will also be present to launch their Windrush coin at the occasion, and also maybe present the coin to some of the people whose photographs they've used as part of their promotion material, but that's yet to be confirmed. But yeah, that's the first part of it, and there's a second link. So the conference is one link, and then there's a second link to join if you want to join the event with John Agard and Tobago Crusoe. But we originally, I have to say, I went to a lot of trouble with this conference because, you know, as a university, funding is a real problem. And the tickets were originally going to be £60 for people to attend, which I just felt was, I mean, it just isn't a doable or acceptable thing from my point of view. And I'm really grateful that finally the university have found a way to fund it, so it's now free and open to the public. So yeah, I'm really pleased about that. So that's a change that came through yesterday. So yeah, more people should be able to go. So that's me. That's a long waffle. Don't want to go on much longer because I know other people need to introduce themselves.
That's perfectly all right, Vanita. That's really lovely. And one of the things that I'm doing at the moment, to stop sharing on that, is that one of our ongoing contributors, Jim Thagordin, Dr. Jim Thagordin, suggested that at the beginning of the session we let everybody introduce themselves, and I think that's very valid. point, and we're trying it out today. So thank you, Anita. Funmi?
Yeah, Juanita, I think the work you're doing is fantastic. I'm dying to be a part of this conference. Is there a way that people can join online? People can physically there.
I'm so sorry. This is the other battle that I've been having. I really wanted it to be a hybrid event, but the costs of doing it as a hybrid event were making it totally prohibitive. And I thought if I had to choose between having no fee versus hybrid, it was better to have no fee, because it meant that the people who've actually been active doing all the hard work are then able to actually be part of the whole conference.
Well, hopefully it will be recorded. I hope the conference will be recorded.
Yes, we're in the process now of sorting out the recording of the conference. So yes, and I'll make sure that we share it. I'll come back and share it. But I know Garrick and Roland will be there. Jean Elizabeth, unfortunately, is on holiday, but I can do a presentation back on the conference, and I'm sure Garrick and Roland will be there to give feedback on how they thought it went.
Right. Well, thank you so much. Now, Jacqueline, I'm going to welcome you. I really, really appreciate your ongoing interest in what we're doing. And with your surname Pennant, you obviously have an interest in one of the projects that my colleagues and I are involved in, and that's the Douglas Pennant Family Foundation Reparation Project with the community in Pennant, Jamaica. So, Jacqueline, would you like to just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, your interests?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Jackie. Born in England, parents of the Windrush generation, parents from Kingston, Jamaica. And I into this, my interest was, but I just wanted to know, a little more about my heritage, ancestry, and so on. So I started with a course, the colonial countryside course, did that. Learned a lot more about Pentecostal, and just went from almost like Pandora's box opened, and I just went from one thing to the next, and it's like all of this information I'm learning.
Well, thank you very much indeed. Gosh, sorry, the line's gone anyway now. It's a bad line. Jackie was joining us from the States. So she's really interested in, I think it's called Future Learn, the course that she did about colonial houses in Britain. And
Yes.
so she made the link with us. Jackie, you're back with us again now, are you?
I started looking into, and I've just been led from one thing to the next. So I just baffled all the information that's available, or all that's being done. So I'm just available to really take in more information, help out what I can, and and the studies on parents, the Caribbean heritage, places, and
Right, okay then. So a little bit more there from Jackie Pennant. I'm sure she'll join us again in a few minutes. Okay then, right. Well, just to say to my colleagues from the Windrush Allies Network, just big hug from me, because you've just been amazing, and Justice for Windrush Generations, and to be in the house and to see you, June Elizabeth Whitesmith Gully, up there on the screen, on Zoom, even if we couldn't hear you, it was just pretty special. And I really value the opportunity to be there. Okay, so I'm also looking forward to hearing the video from that, because watching the video. Hopefully that's going to be posted somewhere, because I'm quite hard of hearing, and until I get my hearing aids sorted out, I couldn't hear some of the presentation, but it was just brilliant to be there. So in special order, June Elizabeth Whitesmith Gully, who's been struggling to get into the Zoom presentations time and time again. So come on, June Elizabeth, unmute yourself and catch us up with your stories at the moment.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Oh, it's a pleasure. I can't wait to touch you physically, Liz. We'll have to arrange it. I can't seem to ring you. I don't know. Have you got a number?
I will put my my British a number in the chat, so everybody, if you want.
Lovely. Thank you. Well, I'd just like to say the Windrush International Allied Network. Is that not correct? Yes?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's WIAN, WIAN, Windrush International, because we include everybody's international, yes? So I just want to say that I find this period very busy, as we all do. And what I do, I'm an international Windrush advocate, trainer, advisor, and ambassador. I belong to lots of different organizations, and I support anybody that needs my service. I'm formerly a retired medical nurse, specialized in orthopedics. I retired from London, where I worked in the operating theatre, Central Middlesex. I'm also a former police officer. I was the only Black police officer in my county in 1978. And I did 20 years as a health psychodynamic counsellor for Northamptonshire Drug and Alcohol Service. So I retired 6 years ago, but my forte and my love has been for Black history. So I've been a co-founder of many things to do with Black history. And I'm pleased to see everybody today. I've been trying to get on for the last 3 weeks. I couldn't get on. I've been a bit depressed. So I was very glad to see you, hear you, and get your information, Liz, that you were in England and that you was at the house, because I was hosting. I was the host for the Zoom. But why you couldn't hear me, because they had to turn me down because there was feedback. So I said it's okay, because last spirit, I'm going to come physically in the house next month, in July, the next session. And what I suppose Roland has not spoken yet, so I hope Roland will update you on something very exciting that's going to happen on the 2nd of July. In Northampton, we've got lots of events happening. You know, on the 22nd, when we raise the flags, we've got a steel band that's going to play while we just walk 200 yards to the museum, Northampton Museum, where they had £150,000 to do a Windrush exhibition. So they've interviewed a few people, including Sir Cliff and myself, for this exhibition, but they have a choice of 200 oral history tapes that were deposited when, you know, the Northamptonshire Black History Association, you know, maybe about 20 years ago. After that launch, we're going to have a lovely West Indian buffet, and we've got four different cuisines, 4 different chefs. Instead of tendering, we said let 4 of them come, because, you know, give them a bit of publicity. And that's the 22nd. And then on the 24th, the Saturday, we're going to celebrate Windrush at the County Cricket Club. And we've got a few people on it. We've got Ras Jabalani. He's over from Ethiopia. So I've put him on the show to beat the drums and get the spirits moving. Yeah. And then we've got Trey Ventor, who would like to come on to this program. He's doing his PhD in the Windrush, and he said he'd like to come to Black history to see how it is. He's a young man of 25 doing his PhD. So I've given him a lot of contacts. He's doing a lot of oral interviews all across England. And that's Saturday. And then that's Friday. And the following Friday, at the University of Northampton, I've been asked to do a Windrush event in association with Dr. Marcella and the Global Ethnic Majority Staff Network. And on the bill, we have Ras Jabalani beating in the spirits, and then the Home Office engagement team, followed by Victor Richards. He's going to come and do a few poems. But the Friday before, he's going to be at the cricket club doing an hour play, one-man play for us. And then after that, we've got Daniel Johnson, Northampton Windrush musical ambassador. And to close the show, we've got the star of the show, we've got Dr. Juanita Cox. So that's where I said I want you to come, Liz. Yeah.
What date's that?
The last day of June. That's a Friday, the 30th. You see how big you are, Philip?
You know, love you always, June. Elizabeth, you're the best.
But I want to talk to you off air.
Yes,
right?
yes.
I need to talk to you. Yeah. So what I'm just doing now, I'm just doing like a program, and the professor says if we bring it in, they'll get it printed at the university. Oh yes, and by the way, I'm doing an MA in history, emotions of history through the Middle Ages to 9/11. So I've finished my first module, but I'm now just trying gathering my evidence to do my 3,000 word essay. So that brings me up to today.
Well, that's fantastic.
I'm talking a little bit funny, sorry, because I just had to go to the dentist. I had the point, he looked at me early in the week when Paul Rowland went dentist as well, but today I had to go and get the treatment and give me an injection. So my mouth's a bit numb. So
Wow.
yeah, I won't talk no more, just nod and agree with everybody.
You're doing a very good job there, and Anita says, so proud of you, June Elizabeth, chat she's put. And we're all so proud of you, just wonderful, absolutely brilliant.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to ask McCarthy to introduce himself next and tell us a bit about what he's doing. McCarthy's joining us from Tanzania. Are you, McCarthy, joining us from Tanzania?
Yes, Liz, I'm joining
Doesn't sound too promising.
from Tanzania. Yeah, I'm out at the beach at the moment. Yeah. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can't see you on the beach, but we can hear you.
Well, do you want to see the beach? Just bear with me a minute.
Oh, envious.
Oh, hang on a sec. Hang on a sec. If only I knew how to. If only I knew how to operate these things.
Oh, don't
Yeah,
worry.
let's have a look.
McCarthy, you'll just make us jealous.
I know. I got everyone, anticipate.
It was just envious because a few weeks ago, I think it was the 1st of April, we did something, I can't remember if Black History Conversations or the North Wales Jamaica Society, and my daughter's partner had found this screen, like a big room divider screen with this fantastic Caribbean beach, which I had behind me, and I was pretending to be on the beach. All right, McCarthy, can't see the beach and we can't hear you. What's going on? Okay, well, McCarthy and I have been talking recently. Oh, here he is. Yeah, man. Oh, nice. Oh, very nice. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, thanks a lot. Oh, makes you feel good, doesn't it? Right.
I can't see it.
Well, I can.
Well, I'm not going to do anything because I don't want to get knocked out.
Don't touch anything. Don't touch anything. Right. Okay. Thank you, McCarthy. There was sea and there was sand and there were palm trees and a play area. It was really, really nice, June Elizabeth. Just tell you. Right, McCarthy. Now, McCarthy and I have been talking recently, and he's going to be coming back to the UK. He may come back even sooner than he'd got planned because I'm here. That's very nice, isn't it? And the reason is that we'd really like to work on the Rastafari Roots and Development Project again, that he and his very wonderful colleague Hapti Wold. Hapti's sadly passed now. Yeah, we're hoping that we may be able to do some work on that, and also on the Jamaican language course. And I found something, there's a real archive, McCarthy. This is even before your day. We did work on Jamaican language and culture, and we did a conference called Valuing Jamaican Creole Stroke Patois, because we didn't even know what to call the language. And we had Clement Lambert from the University of West Indies spoke at this conference, and look how old it is, look how long ago it was. So we'll have to get this transcribed onto a whatever stick or something, and we'll be able to recall. And Gus John interestingly spoke at this conference, and he's written 2 chapters in his Taking a Stand book about the work that we did in valuing and recognising Jamaican language. That was really good. And there's also a bit on it from Tony Paleface Hendricks, any of you who know him. Know Tony Hendricks? He's really funny. He did a special course on language. So McCarthy, can you communicate?
Say that again, sorry, I didn't hear.
I said, can you talk, please?
Of course I can talk. Yeah, I'll be in maybe about in July. So just after mid-July, I should be back in the UK to pick up and, you know, work on that project and get it kick-started. That's it really. I mean, there was a tragedy in Ghana, dealing with it at the moment, where one of my good sisters, she got killed. And so we're just dealing with that at the moment. It's a pretty gruesome and sad case, actually. So that happened on Mother's Day. So just, she was from Birmingham, but she was originally from Coventry, moved to Birmingham, then to Ghana with her 3 children. And out there, she had her own land, etc., doing work there. And tragically, she got killed by her son. So yeah, we're just dealing with that case at the moment. Yeah, and other than that, I'm just stringing down the sand, so to speak, to come back to the UK. So I've got a number of things that I've got to tie up here, and then I'll brace myself and come back.
Right. Well, McCarthy, thank you. I'm so sorry, and the messages of condolence in the chat, saying how sorry we all are to hear of your sister's passing. That's really, really sad.
Thank you.
Heartfelt condolences, says June Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we're now going to see if Roland can, seeing that he's on screen 3 times. Roland, can you speak? Can we hear you?
Yes, I can speak. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine, Roland. That's really wonderful. So, Roland, would you like to tell us about the event on Wednesday that you and Garrick were involved in setting up?
Yeah, the event on Wednesday was a rally at the out of common.
So who were the speakers, Roland?
Were a number of speakers, Randy Bennett of Windrush Generations, Clinic, Gary Black Reminder Teller. And Richard Burden from Leeds, and up to Paris. But the aim of that, the aim and purpose of the lobby of common is to get changes to the window in attitude.
Nolan, your sound is going in and out. Your sound is going in and out. Can you improve the sound, please?
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
That's better. Yes. Yes.
So,
So if you
aim and
just repeat what you said before so that everybody can hear.
So we've been hosting the rally at the House of Commons since June last year. And the aim and purpose of those rallies are, is to get changes to the scheme. The scheme as it is at the moment is not putting those that were impacted by the Home Office policy back in the position they would have been in, not impacted by action, i.e. pension. Those that have lost pension, as the scheme is at the moment, they're not being compensated that they should. Likewise, lost earnings. The whole idea is to go into the details of the scheme, look at the failings of the scheme in specific areas. Housing, £8.21 per day, that's compensation that is being given at the moment. Momentum is building. We're getting quite a bit of support from individuals, MPs there. Also, there are others that are sisters and are supporting barristers, journalists, etc., etc. We had some support from like Nadine White from the Independent, Sophie from the Mirror was there, Mirror newspaper was there, and there were other journalists there. Outside of the House of Commons, there are other things that we're doing to promote the scheme. Justice for Windrush Generations, main purpose. One, promote the Windrush compensation scheme as it is at the moment. Also, campaign and get changes for this change of the scheme. Put those back in the position. Should be earlier. Our approach is to use different time and different dates and separate campaign from promotion. We've got an event coming up on the 2nd of July specifically to promote the scheme, and that is being hosted and being convened hybrid with Justice for Windrush Generations and the Brixton Seventh-day Adventist Church. It's an international Windrush forum where we're trying to reach out to those impacted, not just only in the UK, but further afield beyond the UK, abroad. In Canada, we're trying to make contacts in Toronto, and I would like to touch base with Bumi at some point. Trying to make contact in, developing contact in New York as well, and other areas of the USA. And we've got a number of contacts on the continent, in Ghana, Nigeria, and elsewhere. The idea for the contact outside UK in terms of a concept is for when we're presenting at the House of, when we are presenting at Kingston Church, to have other locations, other venues outside the UK, whether it be in a church, a community center, or whatever, and have a projector there and a screen there and an audience in the building. That audience in said building will be able to interact with the audience at the venue at the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Brixton and ask questions to the Home Office engagement team, because they will be there. And speakers there, like myself, Gareth will be there, Glenda Caesar will be there. So I said earlier, it's an international forum, Windrush Compensation Forum. Gonna try to make it as interactive as well, and we'll be reaching out outside the UK, from Jamaica to Ghana, wherever, Trinidad, wherever we can get that venue, get that community leader, pastor, whatever, on the ground there to facilitate, get a building, get that projector, and get those in the whatever country, whatever location to actually interact, come on board, and I'll leave it here for now, and if anyone likes
Thank you very much.
elaborate that.
Thank you. Now, Bunmi says she would be happy in Toronto, Canada, to be your contact for Justice for Windrush Generations over there in Canada. So she's put her contact details in the chat. Are you able to access those off the chat, Roland?
Yes,
Or-
I'm gonna grab that down. Gary, you can grab that.
Okay, that's fine.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Thank you. And it's a bit of a problem with the line, but we got there. Garrick, yes, it was delightful to see you at the house as well. So would you like to tell us some of the different things? And then I've got some photos.
Yes, I'll say a couple of things, Liz. And firstly, just before I talk about the event on Wednesday, can I just mention a couple of things as a prelude? If you remember, Professor Martin Livermore,
Yeah.
will be visiting Jamaica on the 24th next week. This is a fact-finding mission in the capacity as Windrush Independent Advisor. So I've sent you an email, Liz, asking for some contact on the ground. I already shared contact with Martin for Dr. Hilary Ickling, so he have that. That's in the bag. But I think he's got 6 or 7 parishes that he'll be traveling to. So I'm really wanting a contact in each of those parishes if necessary or if possible. So we can do that afterwards. Now, we've been waiting for this for some time, and Martin, last year, he was due to go out last year, and he had a health issue, so he couldn't travel, and then he had to have a surgery, and now he's better, so he will be traveling. So I'm looking forward for that event. That would be one of many. I understand he planned to travel to other places with the same purpose. So we'll know which city or which country we're traveling to for the rest of the year. I'll share that information.
Well, we'll follow that through because it's so important.
Yeah.
Do you realise that the 24th of May is the date of the sailing of the
Yes. Well, probably that's why he wants to be there on the 24th.
Good. Well,
Yeah.
I hope he joins in with
And
some
that is going on from Kingston. Yeah. So I think he's planned it well.
good.
Yeah. Just a little bit background, Liz, because the question that you raised initially for people just say a little bit about themselves and their interests. So my name is Garrick. Garrick Prayog. I'm living in the northwest of England, but formerly from South London, from the Brixton area. I'm second generation Windrush. I came to the UK in 1967, but my mother came 10 years earlier. So, I'm directly linked to the Windrush generation, although I'm not personally impacted by Windrush, nor any of my family. I know many friends who are impacted. And in particular, Liz, you asked about interest. I've got a number of interests. Music is very much one of my interests. I used to play sound system with some of the big boys. Some of the big boys have disappeared. Josh Shaka, I play sound system with Josh Shaka, Duke Reed, Coxon, all those big boys, Safana B, and so forth. But I have other interests apart from music. Community has been one of my interests for as far as I can remember. And my community interest started back in Brixton with what was then, Black Power movement. Yeah, and that's how we used to campaign about the injustices that was going on from the 60s and 70s. So my apprenticeship was served with Darcus Howe and those guys back in the day. I worked with Olive Morris on housing in Brixton, right through till her death, and were able to achieve some changes in housing in Lambeth. And one of her family, Mayor Morris, is still a close friend of mine. But I also have particular interest in Black mental health. And for the past 15 years or so, I've been focusing on Black mental health because I've met so many people, families, who have had many issues with mental health, not able to get the appropriate support because the system doesn't really recognize the culture. And often, you know, the way we understand mental health from a Eurocentric perspective is not the same way that many other people from the Caribbean and Africa understand mental health. So, you know, there is a difference. So what I've been trying to do for the past 15 years is to really work strategically with organizations that deliver services to make sure that those services are culturally appropriate. So currently I'm working with the Royal College of Psychiatry and with a couple of mental health charity, Rethink Mental Illness and Mind Mental Health Charity. And that is really to break down some of those issues within the organization so that they understand the issues that Black people experience and the approaches and services have to be different. So that's another passion of mine, in addition to the Black history. So the Black history stuff is really what we talk about every Friday, Black history conversation. And, you know, we've been talking about Black history conversation for quite a while. Last night, I went to see the Rush theatre play in Liverpool. And it's moving to other cities. This is the third time Rush has brought a play to Liverpool. And because we're in the Windrush season, obviously, it's focusing on the Windrush generation. But it picked up the story, not just from Windrush generation. The narrative started when, you know, this man got lost going to India, right, and end up in the West Indies. Yes, so that's where the story started. Yeah, with Christopher Columbus, right, and it worked the timeline all the way through. Yes, to slavery, to present day. And each of those segments, that's the one, each of those segments, there's a story, okay? And they focus very much around what were some of the issues happening in the UK at this particular time in history. And the narrator says they could not cover everything because it was just too much. But there was an important message in the story. They weren't talking about Black history or the Black experience only. They weren't talking about white history. They were talking about a shared history. And I think these phrases are very important, a shared history. And on this platform, we always talk about history, not try to pigeon Black history any different from secular history. History is history. But of course, we know that Europeans try to write out of the history, the Black contribution. So we're trying to get that contribution, those historic perspective back in the conversation. So always remind people, yes, Don't just focus on Black history. When you have the conversation, you're talking about history, and history doesn't have a color. Yeah, history is history. So we're in the Windrush period now, and of course, some of the celebrations already started pre June 22nd. So June 22nd will be the official Windrush Day. But there are events scheduled for next week because a bank holiday weekend, okay? And there are programs scheduled right through till August, yeah? So we have Windrush Day, but we also have this year as a 75th anniversary. That's special. So it's not just Windrush Day, it is Windrush Anniversary. And when we talk about Windrush Anniversary, we should always talk about the formation of the National Health Service, because it's also the 75th year of the British National Health Service. And without the Windrush generation, there would not be a National Health Service. So when we're having these conversations, make sure we're connecting these conversations with our history. And again, it is shared history. So what I've been doing locally in my little area of Merseyside and Cheshire is to contact the universities. So I've contacted the University of Liverpool, University of Liverpool John Moores, Hope University, and Edge Hill University, in addition to University of York, purely to let them know this is a special occasion and ask the question, what is your university doing for Windrush 75? They didn't even know anything about it, but I had a few responses. So now they're quickly trying to do something. Okay? So I've connected Melissa with York, and they're now having conversation with Melissa, what can be done in York. Your colleague Moore, what's his first name? Sorry.
Robert Moore.
Robert Moore. So Robert Moore and I have made sure that University of Liverpool is doing something. So he's also, after my initial email to the Vice Chancellor, he's picked up and he said, okay, I'm going to talk to people. So something is being done there. See? Edge Hill have an exhibition of Windrush, yeah, the whole period. So there are things happening in my area. And I'm suggesting to people to find out what's happening in your area, right? Because this is part of the education that we need to put out there. So there is a dedicated website for Windrush 75. And people need to go on that and see all the different activity that's taking place throughout this period from June onward to August. It's there. Lots of information. Also, Liz, I did send you a link to the Windrush Museum.
Yes, I'll speak about that in a moment.
Yes, okay. So there's lots going on. So I'll leave that there so you can pick up the other issue. Just a couple of things about Wednesday rally in Parliament, to which we're thankful for June supporting us on the monitor and the Zoom. Because we don't have our own equipment, we always have difficulty with what equipment is there present that we can utilize. And so audio is a challenge for us, and we're trying to solve this problem. We will solve this problem because we're intending to purchase our own audio stuff so that we have a better sound system, okay? But, you know, I don't know what it sounds like from outside. You know, people who are listening, they're the best people to tell me, like June Elizabeth, what it sounds like. But for the people that was inside, we had a really good audience. So the event was sponsored by Marsha from Battersea, again, South London. And Marsha's been an MP since 2017, a Labour MP. In the room also, Roland spoke about Richard from Leeds. We had people from different organizations. We also had somebody from, we could probably call him from the services, or veteran, yeah, who was served in the war. Yeah, so we had somebody there. Had specific questions, so we're able to at least, help him with his question. It's not the first time he attended. He has attended before. We had people from Age UK. That's right. We had people from Age UK, and Age UK is important because that is the organization that really support older people. And we have a definition. Anyone over 50 plus is that older people grouping. And again, these are a Black individual who are delivering services for Age UK. And it was good. So I've made good contact with these individuals. So again, it's another way of supporting our community and having a signposting where people might need help and support. In addition to the audience, we had an audience on Zoom. I couldn't tell you how far they would travel from in terms of which country, but that information, we have that data because everybody had to go through Eventbrite and Zoom. So we will have that data as we collect it. This gentleman sitting over there is Dwayne Brooks. He's on the cross-party little committee for Windrush. And he's the only conservative person in the room. This is the first time we've had a conservative person in the room since we started last year. I have written to many conservative MP to sponsor the event. I've not received a response. I said to Dwayne Brooks afterwards, when you go back to your colleagues, right, can you tell them, right, I've been trying to contact MPs to interest them in this rally. I've not been successful thus far. So please, can you have a word? This lady sitting over here in the blue, she's from Global African Congress. That's Judah Richard. And the audience was diverse in the range of issues that they were bringing to us. Some people didn't understand the scheme. Some people don't know how to start the process of making an application. Some people are a little confused about compensation scheme and reparation and reparative justice. And so I want to make it clear that Justice for Windrush Generation, we focus on assisting people to understand the compensation scheme administered by the Home Office, not our scheme, the Home Office compensation scheme. So whether that will be status or compensation, that is the information that we put out and we promote. Other people are promoting other things. We're not the organization promoting reparation, although reparation is alive and kicking. And as Juanita said, at the same time on Wednesday, there were a meeting taking place in Westminster about reparation. So reparation is important, but we don't want people to be thinking that is what these sessions are about. They're not. It's about helping people to find out, are you eligible for this scheme? Do you qualify for this scheme? That's our focus. And in delivering that, we have bi-monthly rally in Parliament, in addition to 2 Sunday chat per month, 2nd and 4th Sunday of each month on a Zoom. And we reach out to international audience as well as those from the UK. And again, we focus on helping people to understand about this scheme and whether they're eligible to apply to the scheme. We break it down into segments so that people can understand. We have advocates who are experienced to assist and help individuals to understand the scheme. That is what we're doing, and that is what we will continue to do. We will support other stuff around reparation, and also we very much support the bringing about of a Windrush Act in Parliament to bring the Windrush situation to a legal conclusion. And of course, we went to the Court of Appeal, Royal Court of Justice, who told us that the courts do not have any authority over primary legislation. Only Parliament can do that. So Parliament is the only one that can change the law, and we want a Windrush Act. So we've been campaigning for that with our colleagues, Justice for Windrush Generation, been assisted WD Legal, who based in Manchester, to bring about a Windrush Act. And these merchandise that Mimi design and promote is available bespoke. You can have any color you want on any fabric you want. That's the merchandise. And when the merchandise sold, a percentage of that is donated to WD Legal, who is the organization in Manchester dealing with the bringing about a Windrush Act. And it was the same individual, Anthony Brown, whose case was used at the Royal Court of Justice for a judicial review. I'll stop there.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed, Garrick. I've been popping up photographs of what's going on, and the merchandise is lovely, the Windrush Act, and what a good idea, desperately needed. I'm just going to go backwards through these to make sure that I let you have a look at them all. Couldn't believe it. I was there.
To see Liz in person and to give her a hug was so wonderful. You know, that was a real person.
Yeah, we'd never met before.
No. Yeah.
It's kind of exciting.
Yes.
And interesting, because you have to, this is like going backwards as if we're coming out, but it was really interesting. I think, you know, one place that needs decolonialising is the Parliamentary building. As we went in, we saw, you know, the usual thing, but there's also this amazing golden coach. So I'm just going to go back the other way.
Is that the one that was stolen, Liz?
Well, right, just going back through these again, because what was interesting was that I was talking to one of the security guards, you know, I don't talk to anybody, but he was helping us and we were chatting away and explaining what we were doing. And this is a close-up photograph of that golden carriage, because you look at offensive imagery in different ways. And if you read down to the third from the bottom line, victory appears triumphant over two chained figures that may be enslaved captives. So if you have a little look here, here's the shackles and the chains, and shackles and chains here. Just how deeply embedded is it in British pomp and circumstance that, you know, you can feel that that would be acceptable decor on a carriage, but it's about power, isn't it? Okay, so in the morning, well, in the afternoon at 2:30 at the Bush Theatre, I was able to see August in England, an amazing performance, absolutely amazing performance. I think you've been as well, haven't you, Juanita? Just the greatest. Lenny Henry's written it, and is written you get a copy of the script if you want to buy the little booklet. You don't have to read it while he's doing it because it's just so funny, but so poignant, really amazing, absolutely amazing. So this was a little theatre, the Bush Theatre, so it was very intimate. He sat in that red chair and moved things around a little bit from time to time as he told the story of his life. And August is his name, and he tells the story of someone from West Brom who came over as a child with his mother. I won't tell you all the story, but it's very familiar to all of you. And it's a kind of an amalgam. And then what happens when these letters start dropping through the door. Really very, very moving. And then afterwards, Lenny sat with two colleagues who you'll maybe recognise there. Len, what's his other name? Dr. Len in the middle. He's the gentleman who's now responsible as director.
He's in charge of the theatre. Leslie. He's head of the theatre group, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other colleague on the other end is, remind me, please.
Patrick Vernon.
Patrick, yeah.
Vernon, right. Yes. So that was really interesting. Anyway, he was sitting, the guy in the middle was sitting by me, and I was talking to him, and he was saying that his responsibility now is this National Windrush Museum. So it'll be really interesting to see what comes of that. So I won't say more about that just now, but we'll try and get him to join us and tell us more about it. Right, okay then. So, right, next week on the 24th is the actual anniversary of the departure of the Empire Windrush from Kingston Harbour. So what's going to happen? Oh, right, what's happening over in Jamaica? And next week, hopefully, we've got Rudy Page, who's going to come and tell us, because he's been doing links across. So there is on the 23rd in the African Gardens, August Town. There's a Windrush 5 Communities Anchor Festival, so that should be an interesting event. We'll hear what goes on there. It's mainly Kingston based, I think. And then the National Church Service, and apparently after the National Church Service, which is at 10 o'clock, there's going to be a parade down to the waterfront, and some more activities and events going on down there at the Western Waterfront. So that's really an interesting way of recognising, and totally and wholly appropriate. And I have to say, at this moment in time, 5 years ago, I was talking with Yasser Safari about Jamaican poet Yasser Safari about the Windrush recognition, and he and colleagues were looking at the possibility of there being some sort of a memorial, something being as long ago as 5 years. I think it might have been 3 years. In the early times, he'd got plans, so COVID put paid to those. So it'll be interesting to see what comes through now, because it's really important that this story is understood well in Jamaica and issues that are going on. And then the 25th, it's the Windrush 75 Reflections from Kingston Harbour, a panel discussion. So hopefully we'll be able to hear about what went on there. And then right through from the 29th of the May till June the 22nd, there's a Windrush travelling exhibition going around the island, going to the different Jamaica Library Service parish libraries. So hopefully we'll be able to hear about what's going on there. Okay, next, we've already talked about this, Anita's conference, and that's it. I'm going to stop sharing there, but just to say that was just a little wrap up. But I'm surrounded by books here, so as my contribution to introducing myself, I'm going to just say how honoured I am to be here, how honoured I am to work with such wonderful colleagues who have taught me so much over the time, and this is a special share screen for June Elizabeth. Okay, June Elizabeth, is that all right?
Lovely, that's right. Thank you.
Okay, right. Now, so I'm surrounded by books, so I just wanted to share a few of these books with you. Now, I'd never seen this before. This is The Windrush Betrayal by Amelia Gentleman, the wonderful reporter. This is actually published in 2019. Now, I didn't realise that, so that's an interesting one for me. We've talked for some time, these aren't all Windrush related. I'll do the Windrush related things first. This is a book that I borrowed from a friend 5 years ago, and I really need to give it back. This is a really well-known story. This was produced by Tony Sewell, and many people have learned about Windrush through that.
Liz,
Yeah.
can I just say, I'd love to hear your feedback on both of those books.
Okay.
Amelia Gentleman's book, because Amelia's been amazing, I have to say, in terms of promoting the Windrush scandal. However, she's really focused on the Windrush having been a Conservative problem, as opposed to recognizing that it's something that's the fault of subsequent governments. So, and actually what you'll find with most people who've been caught up in the Windrush scandal is their situations were happened before the Conservatives came into power. So I always find that quite interesting. And then and the Tony Sewell book, Tony Sewell is now in the House of Lords for having produced the race report that said there's no racism in the UK. So again, it'd be interesting to see. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what your thoughts are on both of those books.
Well, thank you very much indeed. I'll have to get a copy of this out of a local library because I'm not in a. This is one of the things here. Right, so I'd hoped at some stage that we would have been inviting Satnam Sanghera to come and talk about Empire Land. This is an amazing book with such brilliant reviews and reports. So I'm sure that's one. But I'm just telling you, this is what they've got on the shelves in Llandudno Library. This one as well, a huge tome. Caroline Elkins, Legacy of Violence, History of the British Empire. You kind of get the feeling that the message is getting out. It might be slow and late, but certainly enough to read about it in that. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. So those are some. Then I just wanted to share this one. This is another one that they've got. Don't know if anybody's seen this one, The Black Joke. It's the true story of one British ship's battle against the slave trade. So that'll be interesting for some folks to read. Nice one here as well they've got.
Who's the author of the one? Who's the author?
This one, The Black Joke.
A.E. Brooks. Okay.
A.E. Brooks.
Yeah.
And actually, libraries are fantastic places. The more we ask for black books in libraries, the more likely they are to have them. And I think to work with librarians, every library should have a library who takes a special interest in what Black history books are available. And I remember one of the best things we did on Black History Month was drawing a reading group, and we read. We were reading the story about the Congo Institute, and that generated a huge lot of interest in the projects, but maybe things that are relevant now. And it's good to see that they've got this Black and British, David Kalasuga's book. I don't know if it's the updated one or if it's an old one. This is interesting because this might not be an everyday read. It's The Matter of Black Lives, and it's by it's writing from the New Yorker, edited writing from the New Yorker. Okay. That looks as if it hasn't been read very much. And then this one she appeared with. I don't know if anybody's ever seen this before. Black American History for Dummies. So, loads of interest there. So that's a kind of book that you can dip into and read bits and move on from. And then finally, in the children's selection, there were several books that were out, I have to say, that they would have shown me, but Benjamin Zephaniah's Windrush Child. So it's good that we've got support from people like Benjamin Zephaniah and Lenny Henry, who are, actually using their positions to be able to solve the story as well. And then I've got one very modest little book here, and this is a bit personal. Jocelyn Ross is no longer with us, sadly. And this was the story he wrote when I used to work with members of the Windrush Generation at Bilston Community College in Wolverhampton. And Jocelyn's story fascinated me, and he was determined to write his story. He found his literacy skills were challenged. He probably was dyslexic, but we didn't know enough about it at the time because he really did struggle with writing. But the staff team and myself, we, over the weeks and months, we helped him to write his story. If I'd have known now, I might have done it in a slightly different way, but we wrote it in English. He spoke Jamaican, and there was a difficulty there with how he would have put the words and how it would have looked to somebody else trying to read it back. So absolutely fascinating. Anyway, we nominated Jocelyn. He was so determined. He'd turn up every 3 times a week, and he'd work so hard, and he was always courteous and welcoming to others, reassuring others that they could improve on their skills too. And Bentley Cunningham's there. Bentley Cunningham remembers the work that we used to do with the community and getting people involved. That was when I was at City College, Birmingham, but this was even before Bentley. I was a young chicken then. Right, okay, so we nominated Jocelyn Ross as an outstanding adult learner, and he won the Senior Learner of the Year because we wrote in the application he'd been writing his story. So when he won, we had to quickly publish the book. So this is the slim little book that Jocelyn wrote about his story. And it was through his telling me, the rows of houses that he thought were factories, but because they'd all got smoke coming out of the roof. And his experience of coming from good years in Kingston to good years in Wolverhampton. So it was just fascinating. And just now, when I got to my storage of all my things that have been here for 4 years, I managed to pick this out, and I was highly delighted to be able to share it with you today, because Jocelyn's story and so many others have passed now. Their stories are so precious and so valuable, and it's wonderful the work you're doing and wonderful work that Janita's doing, and people all around the country, because over the time when I've gone to different places, there's been no end of times when people have been selling their story, publishing a book, and isn't that lovely? This is by Elaine Bower and Paul Thompson, Jamaican Hands Across the Atlantic. So the stories are told, but unfortunately, with one-off runs, then the stories disappear. And libraries particularly, and I'm here in the library, how long is Empire Land going to be on the shelves before they decide that it was published 6 years ago and therefore goes in the skip? We need to keep the stories. So that was my little contribution for today. Okay, Garrick?
Couple of things, Liz. Firstly, maybe you can help with this. I think you've taught English, and you were instrumental in getting the Jamaican course accredited initially.
Yeah.
Just recently, I was doing a little bit of experimenting to see how, are we up to date with things? And I was reading a couple of things on the internet, and then it asks the question, you can select any language you want for translation.
Mm-hmm.
So I went down the list A to Z, and Jamaica wasn't there. Right? And I'm thinking, well, so they're asking me about language, and yet my language is not there. So we haven't got to that position yet, Liz, where the language is recognized internationally, so we can get translation. I have a patois, dictionary, etc. But I'm talking about out there in the public domain. Google, for example. So Google need to do some work on this, because it was a Google translation that asked me to select my language.
I think it's really important. One of the reasons that McCarthy and I have been talking, and also Natalie Fagan-Brown, she was the tutor on the Jamaican language course, which only ran once. Unfortunately, at the end of the course was a time when I moved on from the college, and it was taken over into a different department. And without campaigners behind this, it was easy for it to lose momentum. So we've kept in touch with the Jamaican language unit at the University of West Indies. And what we intend to do, Garrick, and we'd love your support, is to get a serious amount of lottery funding, or whatever funding, whoever wants to fund it, go back, tell the story of what we did, because we actually accredited Jamaican alongside any other language like Spanish or Portuguese or whatever it might be, Mandarin, Chinese. There's certain things that you need to do in a language learning course, and then you obviously overlay the language and the culture of the course. And so that was the awarding body consortium. Now, this was all, a good while in the past now. Things happened politically in the UK that then made it very difficult, because if people came from the Caribbean communities and they wanted to improve their writing and reading, then that came under basic skills. But if people came forward and they were speakers of other languages, then then mute yourself, I'll mute you. Then you had to pay for your course. So at that point, we also backpedaled quite quickly, because we didn't want any more disadvantage heaped on the disadvantage that people from the Caribbean community were already experiencing. So it was a really difficult time, but I think it's the time now that, we come back around, because actually the languages of the Caribbean are the most modern languages in the world. Never mind about modern foreign languages being French and German and things. The very modern foreign languages are those languages that were created out of the challenges that Africans had when they were transported and enslaved in the Caribbean and in North and South America. So it's really important to respect that, really, really very important. Got one more thing to show you before you come back in again, Garrick. This is actually my dissertation. I've told you I've been to the storage today to get all my things out, and I saw this. This is my case study, because I went to Jamaica. It's one of the reasons that I know so much about Jamaica and so respectful of Jamaicans. When I was trying to develop for our college an adult literacy program, I went to Jamaica to ask for help. And this is the case study of the background of adult literacy and basic education provision in Jamaica, because the Jamal Foundation was a world-leading project, absolutely fantastic project introduced after independence. And then a reference to the background and the current position in the UK, because at that stage in doing this study, I realised how very political support for adult literacy is. When the Conservatives are in power, we don't hear a bar about it. If the Labour Party are in power, then we hear about programmes to get rid of your gremlins or whatever the thing they've got going, on that time. But certainly there's investment into helping people to brush up on their basic skills. So it's really very interesting. Okay, Garrick, back over to you.
Yeah, just sticking with the language, Liz. at the theater last night, Rush play, one of the feature in the Windrush story was Miss Lou, and we know who Miss Lou is, Louise Bennett, but you know, a poet. And what the narrator actually said, well, you know, she brought her culture and her language, and she wasn't going to ditch that and take on Queen English or whatever, right? And she recognized the importance of her language. Wherever she go, her language was important, and her culture. And I think that is something, again, that has come out of, you know, the Windrush story. And for many people, you know, a lot of the parents have ignored their own language and culture in order, and this is what they believe, to get ahead, leave their culture behind so that they can get ahead or get into a different circle. And there's illustration of Liverpool people who, when they leave Liverpool to get a job in London, they have to leave their accent, yes, and pick up the Cockney, the London accent, in order to get a job. That is changing now, but that's how it was. But now you can hear the regional accents coming into mainstream television, etc. But 10, 20 years ago, you couldn't do it.
That's very true. I'm laughing here, Garrett, because if us bad luck we speak in the Black Country, then I wouldn't understand us if I was talking. So because I was working around the country, I have to talk in the posh way. Like,
Exactly.
You can't tell at all that I've come from Wolverhampton, can you?
No.
I haven't done that for a long time. How lovely. Well, I'm flicking through a book here, desperately trying to find the words for Peelhead John Crow. Because I think one of the things you talked about music, one of the things that we don't really respect is the wonderful musical culture of the Caribbean. Not just the Bob Marley and the reggae and all that, but also these gorgeous, gorgeous folk songs. So I've got this Mango Time here, by Peelhead John Crow. The first conference we ever ran, this conference here, it'll be interesting when we do get it, you know, transferred and we can listen to it. We actually started the conference by singing Peelhead John Crow. Because that just set the scene.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you a funny story. We ran this at Newman College in Birmingham. And in those days, you couldn't just get the catering necessarily you wanted. You had to get the catering they offered. So I said, right, okay, we want rice and chicken, rice and peas and chicken. And we want coleslaw, and we want this and fried plantain and whatever else. And we got to lunchtime. We were doing very well culturally, you know, and we'd got this visitor from Jamaica with us. It was all going nicely. We went into the canteen. The chicken looked all right. Rice and peas. Oh my God, it was green peas, bright green peas. Oh, was I ribbed about that? So ever after that, we tried to.
Well, you're lucky you didn't get jerk rice, though, did you? You got green peas, but didn't get jerk rice.
Okay. Well, it's been just fun today to have everyone introduce what they wanted to talk about.
Yeah, sorry, Liz. My dad, for his first Christmas, my dad, for his first Christmas, I may have shared it, his landlady, she was a Scottish lady. This is 1954 in Northampton. And she said she's going to make him feel at home. And he ordered some rice and chicken. And he got chicken and he got rice pudding. And he'd never seen rice pudding before. He'd never seen rice pudding before in his life.
Oh,
Yeah.
trying. It's kind of sad, isn't it, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't see this Peeler Junko in this book anyway, so we'll practice another time, Gary, and then you can sing it along with me.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that you showed that book, Liz,
Oh, yeah.
about the John Crow.
Yeah.
Boomy might know this because, you know, we have a Nancy story, but a Nancy, yeah? Or the Nancy story book. What I didn't, you know, people don't realize, where did they come from? You know, we're in Jamaica, we're in the Caribbean. Where did these book comes from? Come from England. Yeah, come from England. But the story come from Africa.
Yeah. From Ghana, actually.
Yes, from Ghana,
Anansi
yeah,
is
exactly.
in Ghana, the Yoruba equivalent of the Anansi is the tortoise. And
Yeah.
a lot of their stories are really similar. I'm actually, on my the children's website, I'm actually recreating some Anansi stories. Yes, so yeah, that's one of the things I'm actually doing on the children's Sankofa Storybooks website, because yeah, I noticed that a lot of those even Brer Rabbits, Brer Rabbit stories, which are very popular amongst African Americans, they're all things that were retained by enslaved people, you know, and then recreated, you know, when they got to the new places like the Caribbean or the US and so on and so forth. But they were very important aspects, you know, of their, you know, being able to even hold on to those little childish memories, you know, that sustained them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, I found it. Found the words to Peeler John Crow. So for
Got
those
it.
words, but we're just going to have Bentley first because he hasn't had a chance to get a word in edgeways. Bentley, are you all right?
I am, thank you very much. And a thousand apology. I'm communicating, I'm in the meeting, but using my phone.
Yeah.
And I keep getting interrupted with calls from Jamaica and America and elsewhere. So,
Yeah.
but I'm enjoying the program.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
true.
nice to have you here and nice to see you again.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Much obliged.
It's lovely to see you. Now in the chat we've got Janita saying, love Miss Lou. What a devilman.
Yeah.
Then face war and brave the worst. But me wondering how them we stand colonizing in reverse.
Interesting enough, Liz, just before you read the words there, last night we had a performance of Carry Me Akigol Instead Market, Not a Kwati Was Sell. They actually performed that, you know, and again, just showing you, you know, our history and our culture and the journey. Wherever we go, we take it. You can't leave it behind.
No.
It's part of you.
It's funny, Garrick, because the first time I went to Jamaica, the one place that I wanted to visit was Linstead Market, because I knew the song.
Yes.
In my school ground. So don't know how this is going to work. Are you all ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
It starts off, this long time girl me never see you. Come on, Garrett, can you sing it? Doing a little
I can't sing, Liz.
Long time girl me never see you. Come let me hold your hand. Long time girl me never see. Me I sing it the English way. You know what me I say?
It's a girl fitness song. That's why I don't know it, because a girl fitness song.
Make me hold your hand, girl. Make me hold
your hand.
I've got the advantage. I've got the words.
That's it.
John Crow.
We ashamed ourselves. Black History Conversations choir. What are you letting the side down? Right. What's the wonderful Roland has put up a whole load of stuff here, which isn't the words to be.
That's for Monday. That's the event happening on Monday.
Yeah.
Right. So. Lovely. Now we've got Roland's information on the chat about Eventbrite. Oh, look. Somebody's put the words up here. We're going, Janita, well done. We'll get to you in a minute. Eventbrite, Justice for Windrush Generations, Africa Diaspora, Windrush, Monday chat tickets. Monday.
Yeah, that's the session for the diaspora, where we have the international Zoom chat for people on the continent.
What time? What time is it?
Is it 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, Roland?
Are you there, Roland?
It is 12 noon. I know UK time.
12 noon UK time. Yeah.
12 noon UK time. I think Ghana time and UK time.
Yeah.
So that's on Monday. This Monday coming at 12 noon. Reach out to people after Africa and diaspora. We don't necessarily have to be on the continent. So, first generation, second generation, in Canada, Poland, wherever. Because there is a part of our life here that is Jamaica.
Right, it is on the screen for you, big.
Yeah.
So we go into
Eventbrite. That's it.
Justice for Windrush Generations. African Diaspora Windrush Generations. Can you see it all, folks? And if you cut and paste it off the chat, then you can just click yourself into that. 12
So, Eventbrite is a platform that we use for all our events. So everything is advertised on Eventbrite.
Right, good, okay. So Tanzania, it's 2 o'clock with Ras McCarthy. It's not quite spelled like that. And then Gambia, Mag Simeon, Zimbabwe, Brother Cedric, Botswana, Samoka, Ethiopia, Sister Jasmine. And now we're going to have Toronto with Bunmi as well. So that'll be good, won't it? Excellent.
Excellent, yeah.
Got anybody there from Jamaica? Somebody from Ghana?
The time zone is different because it will be evening time. Yeah.
Right, okay then, peeps, and the Jamaican language course, McCarthy says at the bottom here. The Jamaican language course, 2006, McCarthy. Which took place.
Is that when it was? 2006.
2006. It was an innovative, groundbreaking project, way ahead of its time. How can that be? So much so that Jamaica hasn't even got its own certificated course in its language now. Oh, love. Big up Liz and my lovely teacher, Natalie Fagan-Brown. Well, we'll tell Natalie. But one of the main reasons that I want to get into my store, McCarthy, is because I've got all the resources from like this. I've got all the resources over the years of what we did on Jamaican language, so it would make it a lot easier for us to pull it all back together again. So that'd be good. We'll hear all about it. Watch this space. Right, anything else? Anybody else?
I'm wondering, Liz, when you talk about the next course or the next development, I'm wondering whether there can be an online, program.
This is what Natalie is talking about. We had quite a long discussion the other evening. It's just so lovely to be face to face. And what she wants to do is to create it as a course that you don't have to join at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night, but that you can actually work your way through the course in your own time and your own speed.
Yeah.
Still be good to have opportunities for people to talk together, to discuss things, but that's quite possible.
So, the distant learning programs that Open University does, something like that.
Yeah, that's obviously the way to go forward. Now, Roland's put something else in here then. Thank you very much, Roland. This is check out the Windrush Compensations Scheme chat. Just putting it in the PowerPoint and then I can, that's my way of storing things. All right, let me just put that there, and I'll do some stuff on the website and update that as well for you. Roland.
Do we have a date for the Jamaica Society meeting for June as yet?
Yes, it's the first Saturday always.
Oh,
the
okay, yeah.
Society meeting, so I'll send that round.
Mm.
It's 2 weeks' time from now, 2 weeks' time. So we're getting that organised. And Gary, it would be great for you to come down, because you're in the right area, to be able to come down to North Wales. And we want to do some events and conferences. So in Wales, just something else.
That would be excellent, because I'm only I'm literally 15 miles from Chester.
Yeah.
And you know, probably 22 miles, nearly 30 miles to get to you.
Yes, well, that'll be fine. And I want to come up, I want to meet Richard Benjamin. I want to come up and some folks up there. I'm just going to share my screen again, just a minute. And then Roland, you want to come in? Just book in, William. I can't hear you very well, Roland. I'm sorry. Let me just talk through this while you try and get your stand sorted out. Right, so this is the Welsh Government. All right, so I contacted the Welsh Government about 2 months ago, and I said to the Welsh Government, excuse me, I said on email, when are you going to release the funds for Windrush 75? So I got this yesterday at 1:56 a.m. Right. I think my timing's on Australian time. Anyway, here it is. Could we please share this widely with your networks and communities? And it says Windrush 75 grant scheme closing. Right, this is the first anybody's heard of it. But this is really interesting. Ignore the Welsh, which is on this side, unless you can read Welsh. Applicants are invited for Welsh Government grant funding to mark 75 years since the Empire Windrush docked in Tilbury. This moment symbolises the Windrush generation and crystallises how migration to Wales has shaped our society today. The Welsh Government again want to embrace this anniversary on Thursday the 22nd, wholeheartedly. I think they mean June. This year, it's especially important that we celebrate and recognise its wide historic and present-day significance, and we will begin funding both local and national Windrush events. We also, now this is why I'm reading it out, because this next paragraph happened only because the Windrush Allies Network and the Justice for Windrush Generations directly challenged the Welsh Government, and we had a Zoom meeting and discussed it 6 months or so ago. And so it says, we also remain committed to seeking justice for Windrush elders in line with the Wendy Williams report published on the 19th of July 2018. And then they go on to say, Windrush Celebration Day recognises and celebrates the contributions of men and women from across the Commonwealth who've helped to build modern Wales and made this country their home. And so the grant is to support this celebration as the Welsh Government's commitment to deliver an anti-racist Wales by 2030. The funding will provide opportunities for organisations across Wales to receive support and can request an application form. So I sent off straight away, get the application form, and it needs to be in by the 29th of May. So that's an interesting point, few points there. Roland? Are you there or not? Okay, so anyway, that was just to tell you what was happening in Wales. So it would be great to see you, Roland, at some stage. We are going to do a Windrush Day on the 22nd in the Penryn Hall in Bangor, and maybe a conference at the castle, Penryn Castle. That would be really interesting. But maybe we'll see. Okay then.
Were you going to mention the Windrush Museum, Liz?
I showed the slide of it. I don't know anything
okay.
other than knowing that there is a Windrush Museum. Do you know much about it?
Only what I came across. In the theatre last night, they had a big screen promoting it. And Sam King was there and a couple others. So I took the information off the theatre and then look at it today and got the website up.
Excuse me, is it at the Imperial War Museum?
No, it's a National Archive museum.
Okay, thank you.
Its own. It is a standalone museum.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a standalone museum.
right, okay, thank you.
And is it going to be virtual or real?
No, it's real. Yeah, but the contents, if you go on this site, the contents are really, fascinating and quite. Timeline is brilliant, and the archive, the capture of people and places is just brilliant.
Right, I've just got the site up now, so just hang on 1 minute.
Thank you, Winnie. Thank you, Dr. Cox. You just put up some information.
That's the one.
Sorry, I've lost my ability to look at the chat at the moment. So this is the website.
Very rich content,
Yeah. Yeah, Monday to Friday.
Yeah. So it's well worth a visit. Yeah.
Where is it?
I don't know the location. I didn't look at the address.
Interesting. Is it in the Black Cultural Archives?
No, I don't think so. I think it's somewhere else.
And it's certainly.
Is there?
Can you Google it?
I've Googled it.
That is where it's coming from, Liz, June, a little bit. Yeah.
So maybe if I put contact. Oh, that's
The
just
email contact, but I don't know the location. Yeah.
Liz, if you want to get in contact with her, the lady that runs it is called Denise Ledette or Ledette. I've forgotten her name. I'm supposed to be doing some work with her.
Could you send me her link? I mean, I'll get.
Well, that's the link you've got there is hers, but I'll send you her email address. Hang on, I put it in the chat.
Thank you very much indeed. Right. Interesting. Okay, well, thank you, Garrett, for coming back on that to me with more information. All right, then, so we'll wrap it up now. Otherwise, they'll be kicking me out of the library here in London.
Yeah, no, it's been very nice.
And I look forward to hearing more from you.
Good.
And meeting up with you next Friday.
Liz, is your phone receiving SMS message or just phone call only?
No, I'll just put it in again.
No, I've got the number. Can it receive message?
No, it's just an ordinary phone.
Because I tried to send you a message and it wouldn't go through.
Really?
Yeah.
Try again, because it was a bit problematical because I had to get my old phone number back again. And
Right. Okay. I'll try it later. Yeah.
So Liz, the number that you usually have, that's out of bounds now, is it? Because I've been trying to contact you on WhatsApp.
My Messenger and WhatsApp, I think, operate on my Australian number. I'm ever so sorry that it's so complicated. But
have you got another number? Did you say you were going to put in the chat?
Yeah, it's in the chat now. It's in the chat now, Elizabeth.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Liz, just wanted to, I don't know, you mentioned you couldn't see the chat, but I was going to say, if it could be saved. Oh, you can sit now. Okay. Because I was just thinking the other person that it would be good to contact, because you were talking about Jamaican Creole. You probably know him, but Hubert Devonish.
Yeah.
He's the linguistic specialist at Mona on that. So I put his details.
The person who asked us to do some work on this, because he had to go to the sorry, I'll just stop to copying and pasting thing. So Professor Hubert Devonish approached us as people doing this Jamaican language course if we would support him to get the Institute of Linguists, the Chartered Institute of Linguists, to recognise Jamaican as a language. So notice that, Garrick.
Yeah.
The Chartered Institute of Linguists recognise Jamaican and other Caribbean languages as languages.
Right.
And Professor Devonish went to the Court of Regents in New York, which is like the House of Lords, went to the Court of Regents, and he was fighting the case for Jamaican children to be considered as speakers of other languages when they went into school, so they'd get the support, the language support and encouragement, and weren't treated as if they were stupid and put into education or whatever has gone on both in the UK and other states. So he succeeded in getting that acknowledgement, and we ran a, do you remember NIACE, the National Institute for Adult Continuing Education?
Yes.
NIACE funded us to run a series of conferences in, I'm not sure if it was UCL, one of the London universities, with Professor Harry Goulbourne introduced it. Then we went to Manchester, and then we went to, I think maybe it was Wolverhampton University. And we did 3 big day conferences, and we had some blistering speakers. Then this was just before, you know, Zoom and recording things was. So that was part of the route, and he spoke. I remember him speaking, and I remember sitting in the auditorium in the event in London. It had been extremely snowy the night before, so people had struggled to get in, but still the auditorium was packed. And he was talking about Caribbean languages, and it's the only time I've ever felt people sort of lean back in their chairs, because there was so much incredible information. And he was just talking about, you know, Suriname, and talking about Guyana, and he was talking about Jamaica, and he was referring to St. Lucia, and just amazing, and the challenges that the different language speakers in the Caribbean face. Many are discriminated against by their own government, and some are acknowledged, and you know, there's been progress over the years. I think it's St. Lucia, isn't it, that they have the business of Parliament can be in either St. Lucian or in English. Yeah, just fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So it'd be really great to revive that, and I think it'll make a lot of people feel a lot more confident, because if somebody criticises your language, and I feel this very personally, because I can't speak like I used to speak with my friends and neighbours in Wolverhampton in a scenario like this, because people would laugh at me. And so it's really important that people understand the bilingualness.
Yeah.
Now, if you're Jamaican language speaker, you're bilingual.
Yeah.
And you can speak that way, or you can speak English.
Yeah.
Or uniquely, these languages have a continuum. And so you can actually speak like this way, speak like your granny speaks in the Blue Mountains, Jamaican, or you can speak like this, which is like some Jamaicans speak to me because they need me to understand what they're talking about, or you can speak standard Jamaican English, or you can, you know, you can be.
I'll tell you a story, Liz. I'll tell you a story about this. Somebody was arrested at the police station. A gentleman was arrested at the police station, and they couldn't get anything out of him, right? They thought he's speaking another language. They just, you know, just don't know what he's talking about. And literally, I was asked to go down to the police station and see if I could, you know, help out. So when I arrived at the police station, you know, it's a good middle-aged man, because this is about 25 years ago. And I don't want to repeat the words that, you know, he was saying, but he was cussing a whole heap of bad word. Yes, that's all I could say to you, right? A whole heap of bad word, right? This is about the police, how the police was treating him, right? and they couldn't understand what was going on. You know, they thought he's gone crazy or something, right? So I had to think, how am I going to explain to the police officer what this man is actually saying? So I had to be very diplomatic and say, well, is very annoyed at what happened to him and the way that, you're dealing with him, right? But I can tell you, he's swearing at you. That's all I could say. He's swearing at you because I could not repeat the words, right?
So funny.
All the clots and the different thing that he's saying, I could not repeat that.
We know Teddy Bumbo Clark's on here.
A whole heap of bad words.
Hey, one of them take me off of Zoom, yeah? Hey, Gary, I had that same experience. One day when I was a policewoman, one day I came into the station in the morning at 6 o'clock, and apparently this man and his wife had a to-do, but the police, because he could speak better English, the police kind of arrested his wife. So when I come in there, that's the first time I see a black woman locked up in a cell. And she was talking some story that they couldn't understand her. So they said, oh, because they called me Snowy. They said, Snowy, we're glad you're in. See if you can understand what she's saying. But when she saw me, I not only frightened her because I was only black in the county, but she was pleased to see me.
Yes.
Right? But I could hear her cursing before I got there. And what she wanted to have a wash. And she had asked them for some water to wash herself. But then he understand the water part and then bring her a glass of water. So then she went crazy. Me for say, me day all night. Yeah.
It does illustrate, doesn't it? And we get this, when we talk about Windrush, because we get this with the older generation, and we talk about reading and understanding, and we have to understand people level of literacy as in terms of Eurocentric literacy, etc. And some people are quite comfortable to go in and out of language. They're okay with it, but some can't come out of it. They have to stay in what they know. They don't know nothing else. So when they mix the words, a part English and a part Patois, it's very hard for the people to understand what they're talking about. You see? So you have to break it down slowly. And we say this at our chat, because not everybody read the same way. And a lot of the older people may not be able to read. So it's very hard for you to say, oh, there's the application form, go and read it and fill it in, right? And they won't do it, but they won't tell you why they won't do it, right? There's a reason why they don't do it, because they don't know how to do it.
Yeah, I found that out with the evaluation forms. When I'd done a Windrush, there was about 120 people in London over Penge, Annerley Town Hall. So they just give out the form them and tell them and put some pen and tell them to fill it up.
Yeah.
So then I had to go and collect it, but I was diplomatic. And some people, they're so proud. Somehow said that them to get them eyeglass.
Oh yes, of course. I got to make an excuse.
And I said, well, would you like me to write it if you tell me what you want? And that was completely different. I got more filled out.
Yes.
But a lot of them didn't know how. If they could read, they were not confident to apply, to put the application together. And some of them didn't understand what evaluation was about. So we can't just take it as norm. That's why I always say on the chat, when we say, use your digital or whatever, put it in the chat. Not everybody, right, know how to use the chat. So we always say at the beginning, what you do, if you get a bit of paper and a pen and paper later on, right, we'll give you the numbers because they didn't know how to go in the chat when you put things in the chat for them to tick out. Then they feel comfortable. You're accommodating everybody's socialization. Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, I want Liz to get locking at the library, you know.
Yes, I'm sorry, Liz. I'm sorry. Me forget about you.
It's just nice that your mouth's better, June Elizabeth. Talk again.
It's the numbing gone now. That was from morning.
Sound, June Elizabeth.
From morning.
It wear out now. It wear out.
Let's wrap up where we're at now then, and then next week we'll see how we get on.
So just Mugabe, I sent you a message if you're still there. Look in the chat. Okay? If you're still there, Mugabe.
McCarthy, is there a message for McCarthy in the chat? Anyway, it's been a great session.
On the beach, he's in the water.
Oh, interestingly, the Open University.
He might be roasting a breadfruit in the water, you know?
Oh.
Have a little picnic.
Simon says that the Open University had a free course on slavery studies a few years ago to do with the things. And thank you very much, Anita, for putting the words for this a long time. Galmy, never see you.
Good. All right.
Thanks very much.
All right, everyone. Take care. All right. Bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Have a good week.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Anita. Lovely to see you again.
You too. Bye.
Lovely. Okay, bye then.